amazing season it was overall, because you smashed all the records, really, didn't you? You had the cup run, third round for the first time since 1933-34, second in the conference, highest ever finish, and obviously finished in glorious style with the FA Trophy win. But I just want to go back to the start of the season. So Bookie came in as one of the summer signings, but Bob and Jason, you'd been at the since '92, trying to get out of the Southern League.
They were trying to get out of the club.
Always
sort of tried. No one wanted us at the time.
And the range.
Always near the top of the table, weren't you? But it took you a few attempts. You got there, you got the job done. But did you have any idea what was to come that season? Did you expect to be up there challenging again in the conference after so many years, just trying to get in there?
I think because we were, we were sort of classed as really the underachievers for a very long time when we were at the club for a few years, and thought that the opportunity had probably gone away. But obviously building on quite a lot of new signings throughout the season, and the momentum just sort of took us on. And we just, from promotion, we didn't look back really. So it was a great opportunity for us to build. We got success, sort of every opportunity that we had, we took, and we just built on it from game to game, really, with adding to the squad as we went, and with where we got to at the end of the season.
What about you, Bob? Because you've been through a lot of the club and been at the 5 or 6 years. Was it a pleasant surprise for you what happened that season?
Not so much a surprise, like Jason said. I mean, we'd underachieved to a certain extent. I came in '92. Jace came just after that, and we had a period where we didn't really add to the quality we'd already got. We got a decent side, and it showed with us competing at the top of the league, but it took a few years to sort of add to that with the quality that was required. And I suppose Steve being Steve was the one who forced the issue, I suppose, to say, look, do you want to be continuing to finish second and third, or do you want to win the league? And Bookie came in mid-90s. And then he obviously looked at what we'd already got, but added to the spine of that team, but then also added to other positions as well, and then you could see it happening, but you've still got to go out and obviously do it. So I was starting to feel more confident going.
What did he say to you, Bookie? What did he say to you, Bookie, when, as Bob said, Steve brought you in ahead of his first full season? What did he say to you?
What swung it for me? It was the money, obviously.
Well, yeah.
Well, someone needed it then. you
No.
It was just, we'd been there a few years on Tuck Safety, and then he comes in on the big bucks.
Yeah, we had all the big boys coming, didn't we, Bob? Ben? Yeah. We were playing for the fun of it. They came in and wanted to play for the money.
No, I mean, obviously Cheltenham was always a big club, like biggest club around, wasn't it? I mean, I was at Forest Green and done the rounds non-league sort of thing, lower than that. But Cheltenham was the sort of biggest club. You had the same with Bath sort of thing. But like Bob said, underachieving really, or you said, John, underachieving. And it wasn't until Steve come along, obviously, and signed some good lads. They got them promoted, and obviously had good lads there to start with, but he sort of jumped on the bandwagon and got everyone on with him.
Yeah, if you look at the signings that summer, I mean, Dale Watkins made a big impact up front with Jason, but Mark Crisp had an injury, didn't play much. Russ struggled with injuries that season as well. So it was really the majority of players that had got the club promoted from the Southern League, wasn't it, that went on to do so well, with probably Bookie and Watkins, the two regulars that were added to it.
It was characters as well, John. We had some really good players that with a little bit of luck and a little bit of fine tuning of their attitude could play at a higher level. One or two obviously did, but there was others who were they knew they were playing at their limit. but you know, they were just great characters. You know, there was just the team was filled with good characters, good attitudes. People like Bucky who just, you know, lighten the mood every 2 minutes. Whenever it got anytime it got serious, you just have to chat with Bucky, and then, you know, you're not serious anymore. And things like that, you know, while people who don't fully understand it and are not ingrained into it might think it's just, you know, being stupid. I suppose it is, but it is a vital ingredient of a successful team.
I think we had managers along the way, didn't we? We played for a few different managers. Obviously, yeah. Lindsay, when we started our careers, and Lindsay sort of built, I suppose, the nucleus of us when we were there. You know, the Bristol lads especially. So he probably looked further afield and used his contacts from, you know, his Bristol Rovers days really to sort of gain some more professional players to the squad. And I think from then on, it just built and built, didn't he? So we went to Chris Robinson, didn't we? Chris came in and took over for a short period. But even Chris brought in some decent players along the way.
Jamie Victory.
Hey?
Jamie Victory.
Jamie Victory. But he sort of started another era, didn't he, with Chris Robinson? I know what you're going to say.
Look at Bucky, he's waiting in the wings.
Yeah. But so Chris came in and sort of tried to build it to another level, but we still had the nucleus of the same lads that Lindsay had brought in. So we were just adding to the team, and it just needed a bit more professionalism. It was underachievers, you know, trying to, you know, better themselves. A lot of us played, you know, at professional level. You know, some play more than others, but we just wanted to bring our professionalism and have a manager that could get the best out of us again, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're right in mentioning Lindsay because, you know, with a little bit more luck, which all managers need, we may well have gone up on one of them seasons in them early 90s. I mean, you know, he had a good way of treating lads. He was very, you know, clever on how one minute he'd be really sort of, you know, mild-mannered, and then next minute you'd know that, look, you need to behave and play properly and do it right. But I don't know the politics of whether, you know, there weren't the money there, or, you know, to just add that extra one or two players, because I think you'd agree, Jace, at that time, in the early 90s, we probably all felt we were just that one or two players short, weren't we?
Yeah, I think so. And, you know, it did need an input from the club to be able to take it on. But, you know, they were never big payers, Cheltenham, you know, apart from when Bucky came along. We didn't go for the money, definitely. We went, I signed because of Lindsay originally, because I played for
me.
So, and you. So the driving force was probably the ambition of Lindsay to take the club back into the conference. We never dreamt that it would go back into the league. Well, not at that stage, being in the Southern League. That was just a sort of a pipe dream, and that wouldn't have even been discussed in those days. So the next step was to get us on to the conference with what we had there, and, you know, back to where they belonged.
Did you all travel up together from Bristol in a car, you three, during that season, during the 97 season?
At times, yeah. I mean, when it was my drive, they all jumped in, but when they had to drive, they shot off on their own.
Well, it didn't start very well, did it? I mean, got to mention that the opening day, we'll come on to a lot more positive things in a minute. But Bucky's debut, and Jace, amazing to think you were on the bench for the first game before you started scoring. But Bob and Bucky, what do you remember about that Dover game? Because were there a few worried faces after that one, losing 3-0 on the opening day?
For me, I mean, obviously, I wasn't just coming to the building, so I always thought, oh, here we go, it's going to be a slow start, finish, you know what I mean, then finish mid-table, then crack on from there. Do you know what I mean, sort of thing? I don't know about Bob, what he thought, because he'd been there and knew most of the players. I mean, I didn't really know many of them, like, to play with. I mean, I knew Jace before because he's a ledge around there.
I think it was a bit of a wake-up call, because I can't remember our pre-season when vividly, but we would have had high hopes, but also looking at the fixtures, Dover first game would have been a tough game anyway. But yeah, not an ideal start, one that probably give us a bit of a jolt and said, right,
I just remember going down there as red hot, wasn't it? Obviously, first game of the season. Did we stay down, or did we travel on the day?
I can't remember. I
I honestly can't remember.
Is that what you're blaming letting the 3 goals in, Bookie? The weather
Sun was in my eye.
The overnight, didn't go to bed because you were in the bar till whatever time.
I've been around these players too long, Jace. You know what it is? Any excuse. Didn't go in the bar.
But Jace, you came on that day, and then obviously you scored against Hayes, and that really did sort of spark you got 22. You scored pretty consistently throughout the season, but you had a brilliant start, didn't you? I think you were scoring pretty much every game in those first few weeks as you started to creep up the table.
Yeah, I think getting the opportunity and sort of come in, within the squad again, knowing that there's loads of competition for places, especially being a striker. You look around and think, you've got to start scoring, else you're not going to be playing. And that's probably one of the things when I was there, the time that I was there, I always, strikers, they signed a lot of strikers along over the years, and some good ones and some not so good. But you always knew that, if you were playing well and you were scoring goals, then you were going to keep your place, whoever the manager was. So, I had good, the players that were around me were good players as well that would, I always give them the credit, or they try and take the credit for setting up most of my goals, really. But, we had some good partnerships, especially with Dale, Jimmy, even Martin Boyle in the old days, and then on to Grace as well later on down the line. So, I was lucky enough to have good players in midfield contributing as well. March 90 walks, to say the least. And Jimmy as a forward would set up quite a lot of goals as well. He was quite unselfish and very clever as a striker. So, whereas I scored quite a lot of the goals, obviously you'd like to give credit to other players in and around you as well for contributing as well to you.
Yeah. That you won 2 and lost 2 in your first 4 games. And Bookie, Kettering away, how much of a turning point was that for you, do you think, and for the team? Because that sparked a 17-game unbeaten run.
Yeah, I think that was after Hereford, wasn't it? Remember Hereford, lads?
I was going to mention that one.
Can't say last night you got 5 games to me. I think I chucked one at Grace's. Well, chucked a couple at Grace's feet. But to be fair to especially Bob Arch, and I travelled in with Jace to that game there for the way, and they were like, "Don't worry about it. Just get on with it." I went in the dressing rooms afterwards, stuck hands in my head like that. Fell through my hands. But yeah, he sort of had a go, and then like we did sort of get together, Kettering away, went it 1-0.
Yeah,
clean sheet, off we go. But we always knew. I don't know if like Bob playing in the middle of the park. We always knew that if we could get the ball up the other end, we'd score, and we could keep them out. We could keep clean sheets. So we had Jace and Dale, quite dynamic. We had Jamie going down at night. He would stick it on your head, Jace, wouldn't he? And
yeah, we were going to score, and we, as you said, we wouldn't concede either. We were pretty solid. With the boys at the back, and with Duffo as well.
We knew if we went 1 up, we were on to something.
Yeah. It was a funny thing, really, and I know you sort of listen to quite a few teams that are successful to say about it, but we used to go out and think we weren't going to get beat. We had the confidence to think that, how's someone going to beat us today? Because, it was a great feeling to have, but that's obviously instilled from the top as well, from the manager, to give you that confidence, to know that you can go out there and build that squad and togetherness within the squad that we had. We didn't want to lose it. We didn't want to get beat for each other, really. Because we were all mates as well as teammates as well as friends. That's the way I felt.
Yeah, the other thing as well is I can't really remember doing tactics. I mean, obviously I'm at the back of the thing, or whether I wasn't listening or whatever. But I can't ever remember Cox going, right, we're going to play this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this. I think it was good lads who sort of knew their game and got on with it. I don't know, you might
yeah. I think he did quite a bit of research on the other teams to know how we could, get in around them. That's what I can remember from Cots's sort of management style, that, he prepared meticulously, but I think you're right. It was just to get on with it. These are the weaknesses of the team. Go out, exploit their weaknesses, and you'll win the game, boys.
We've done a lot of set pieces, though, don't we? We were good at set pieces, both for and against.
Yeah,
Bob.
I think he knew he had a bunch of honest lads, really, that would just get on with the game, and take the game to the opposition, really, and get on with it, boys. And
yeah, it was attention to detail of the other team that I remember about Cox's style, and like you say, trusting the players, trusting that they were knowing their jobs, and if you fell off it at any time,
that's what I mean. Yeah, he was on your case.
Yeah, he was on you, and letting you know in no certain terms that we'd worked on it for 2.5 hours on Thursday and an hour and a half on Friday, and why don't you know it now on Saturday?
There are a lot of positive results that we could look at, but there's one game that I want to just touch on before we look at the trophy and the FA Cup, and it was Halifax at home on November the 1st, and I think they were top of the league, unbeaten. Jeff Horsfield was banging the goals in, but they turned up at Wadden Road and got turned over in no uncertain terms, didn't they? Bob, you'll remember one particular moment from that game, but Jason, hat-trick. What are your memories of that one, Bob and Jace particularly? Bookie, I don't think you had anything to do that day.
Well, my memories are that everyone relates to Bob's one goal and the 3 that I scored. No one was interested in.
Well, I think 3 tap-ins from like under a yard compared to...
I made a living out of that, Bob.
I know. Compared to a left foot volley from, corner of the box, come on.
From a Yorkshireman as well.
Yeah.
They don't have any videos of those games anymore, Bob. They weren't available in those days.
I know, that's the
real
sad thing, isn't it? I'd be watching that every day.
No.
But yeah, it was a great performance. We knew that Halifax were one of our rivals, and that we had to produce the goods, and we did. We played well, and we played well in a number of other games, but that was one where the goals all clicked. Jace had a great day in front of goal, scored hat-trick, and it was topped off with mine because I've scored 1 or 2, but not many that I've hit as sweet as that, and it just fell nicely. Swung the old left peg, and it just went like a bullet, and I did my usual daft celebration.
I think those are the games you wanted to play in, though, weren't they? Big crowds.
Yeah.
A big team.
We had big time players, Jace, didn't we? You being the main one of them. You were the biggest time of all. But we did, didn't we? We had players who really thrived on them type of games.
Yeah, big crowd. And Horsfield, he came. Where did he come from? He came from West. Did he come from West Brom or something like that? He signed from, or he went to West Brom.
He went to West Brom, I think. Yeah.
No, he went to West Brom.
He got his move, didn't he? Yeah.
So you're up against to in credit to our defence as well, to keep players like that out on the day. They had Brian Kilkine at the back as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
2,500 there, and 2,500. That seemed like a massive crowd in those days, didn't it? Because I think the crowds basically doubled almost overnight the way he started that season, going from sort of 700 or 800 to 2,500 regularly. It was the growth started, didn't it? And the excitement started to build, not least because of the FA Cup run. And you had to do it the hard way all the way through the qualifying rounds. Right, I think started at Thatcham in the first qualifying round, all the way through to Boreham Wood away, knowing that you'd have Reading in the third round if you got through against Boreham Wood. And Bob, again, I think you only scored 3 that season, but the Halifax was a cracker, and the Boreham Wood one was a very important one, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it couldn't be more different, really. I mean, that one was the only similarity was it was a left foot again. I'd scored 1 or 2, but it was just a bit of a fluke that I scored again with left foot, and it was one of them that just struck it, and it just found its way in, and I don't know how it went in. Really, I didn't like where I struck the one against Halifax, as sweet as you like. This one was probably the exact opposite, where it just bobbled and crept in. But like Jace just said earlier, you know, whether it's a 30-yard screamer or a 1-yard tap-in, it still goes on as a goal, and you know, some have more significance than others, whether they're good goals or average goals. And that one, obviously, we knew that it was a big game to get through to against Reading. And as I said about celebrations earlier, I've got no idea why we did this stupid celebration about patting our heads or something, wasn't it? What was that all about? Do you remember that, Jace?
No, it's just you on your own again.
Probably, yeah. Something bizarre. I remember that it was some bizarre celebration we said we were going to do. I don't know whether it. No idea.
That definitely took off the next couple of years, didn't it, with Grayson there? But yeah, that was Reading game was obviously 6,000 there for the first game, and you could have easily beaten him, couldn't you? I think it was a postponed once, wasn't it? So it was a midweeker and another sort of boggy pitch, but you know, I think you gave him a real scare, didn't you, that night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first on that one?
I mean, it was one of them games where we did probably miss a trick. You know, it was a horrible night, difficult conditions, and probably, like with a lot of FA Cup ties, league games against non-league games, it becomes difficult for them, particularly on your own patch. And we went in front, and then they managed to get a goal late on that, you know, got them the draw, and while we still put up a good show at their place, that obviously was the chance for us, wasn't it, at home.
I think when we had the draw against Reading, I think it's a bit of an anticlimax, wasn't it, that we had Reading. I don't think they weren't a massive club at the time, were they, Reading? So I think we knew that, you know, we had an opportunity to beat them, but it was like we'd rather had a sort of an away tie somewhere, I think.
Yeah, and that was probably even more of a bit of a sickener that we didn't finish it off in the first game, because we did fancy that we could cause what would be an upset and then possibly get a bigger club. I forget who they drew. Who did they get in the next round? Reading?
No idea.
I can't remember. I don't think it was a big one. I don't think it was a glamour one, otherwise I'd probably remember it.
We went away, and I don't think there was a huge crowd when we went away either to Playground on a damp night. I'm sure it was up there, wasn't it? The weather was...
Elm Park, yeah, it was Elm Park, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just under 10,000, well, 9,500 there that night.
What was it? So
Not bad.
Yeah, no, we knew probably we were, yeah.
They scored early on there, didn't they, as well?
Yeah.
Morley scored again, didn't he? Morley, and then Clive Walker equalised, and then they got a bit of a freak one.
Did Dalbert miss a sitter? I think Dalbert missed a sitter or something, didn't he?
Yeah, we had our opportunities. Once Clive scored, we had a couple of close calls and could have still done the business at their place.
But yeah, no, it was another big game for us, wasn't it? So they were coming thick and fast, I think. So
yeah.
With the league, the other cup, and the FA Cup, it was one big game after another, which was great for us.
It probably did us a favour in the long run.
Just having the squad to do it as well, wasn't it? Really, you know.
Yeah, it was a good run, and it even though we lost to Reading in a replay, it did give us a big boost, I think, in confidence that we, you know, the level we were playing at shouldn't be a problem for us to go on and do what we did.
Just researching it quickly now. I think they played Cardiff City in the next round.
Okay.
And then ended up playing Sheffield United in the 5th round, and went out in the 5th round. But going back, I know he's been mentioned already, and he'll inevitably be mentioned again. But I think I'm right in saying that Steve Cottrell was early to mid 30s when he was manager in this period. That's quite a young age to be a manager, and to have success as a manager as well. What was that like for you as players? You know, did it say a lot about sort of character he was, that at that age he wasn't afraid to manage what was very much an experienced change room in many ways, especially, you know, moving forward as well?
I think the thing that I remembered was he when he came in, he was obviously a striker, so he turned up as a player. So Steve turned up as a player, and it was like, okay, what are you doing here then? You're going to take my place? And he sort of made it out straight away that he was just there to help and, you know, maybe do a little bit of coaching, just to try and develop a few players, etc. But we didn't know at the time that he was, you know, was going to be the manager of the club. So this guy turns up that we didn't know too much about. Obviously, we did a bit of research, and then obviously got the opportunity to take the club on. And from being one of us as a player, as you said, Rich, to moving on as a manager, it was like, God, who's this geezer? And then, you know, all of a sudden, he was very articulate with the way he was, the way he spoke, the way he dressed. You know, he was always quite smooth, Steve was, and you could tell that he had a presence about him, even from, I thought, when he was playing to, you know, then he took on, obviously, the role as manager. It was quite an easy transition, I think, for him, and you could see it within him. He had the confidence, some say arrogance, to, you know, to be able to step up and, you know, manage a team of lads that were a similar sort of age, really, to him.
He knew what he wanted, didn't he? And he wasn't afraid to sort of step on people to get there, was he?
No.
Or upset people.
I can always remember the conversation that I had with him was, well, we all had with him, that one day he said he would manage in the Premier League and he'd be a millionaire. That was him. That was him all over it. You think, okay, so both of those are probably very true. And he had that self-belief within himself, and, you know, he wasn't going to stop anything, was he, to succeed, whatever that was. And, you know, he was with a team of, you know, non-league players at that time.
And like you said, Jace, it's that arrogance that drove him on, wasn't it? You know, when he first come in, we were all a little bit, you know, who's this guy? Is he just, you know, just a talker, or can he actually walk the walk as well? And he played a few games. He was player manager to start with, and I think he realised himself how difficult that role is. You know, I mean, he had an abundance of confidence in everything he did, and probably still felt he could contribute to the team. But I think he's not stupid. He worked out that, yeah, I could probably play, but I'm better off running the team and driving the rest of these lads on. And he saw that pretty quickly. He played a handful of games and then decided, yeah,
carry on with it, lads.
I think I'll hang him up and just drive him on from the sidelines. And once he did that, yeah, we started to turn into a formidable team.
Did you get involved in the coaching quite early then, Bob? Because I know you'd worked a bit of coaching under Chris Robinson, but did Steve want to keep you involved as sort of almost like a player coach role pretty early on?
Not really, no. Not that I remember a great deal of. It lent on me a little bit, but not just me. It was a number of senior players, really. I mean, like you say, you know, it was a very similar, probably same age as me, and a similar and same age to a number of other lads, and not much older than the majority of the squad, I would say. So yeah, there was a start of me doing little bits with Steve, but not loads, not to a player coach position really, and in all honesty, not really so much when Chris Robinson came. Before that, you know, when I was classed as assistant manager then with Chris for a bit. But it was mainly as a senior player's influence on the pitch rather than taking coaching sessions, which I did when I properly retired from playing.
Let's have a little chat about the trophy run, because again, it was eventful. I think you needed a replay to beat Enfield. Then you thrashed Rushden at home, which was a really good performance. But then Ashton away, I think, stands out for a lot of fans because you had a lot of players missing. I think, Jason, you might have been injured for that one. and a couple of players had to be drafted in, and it was a bit of a battle. Bookie, you played in that one and kept a clean sheet. Do you remember going up there and sort of scraping through with a bit of an understrength team, Ashton United?
Sort of vaguely. I just thought, it's like a proper non-league ground, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Up north somewhere. And like you said, it was just sort of skeleton crew. I think Jacko played, didn't he?
I think Dave Parker played centre mid with Jimmy Smith.
That's right.
Archie played at the back. Archie played centre half.
Yeah, well, clean sheet says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Jimmy in midfield, yeah. God, we didn't hear the end of that, did we?
And then it all kicked off, didn't it? Sorry, Bookie. It all kicked off in the Hayes game, didn't it? After Jamie Victory scored that late goal, and there was all sorts of problems after the celebration, wasn't there?
Yeah,
in the terraces. Was that
it was scrappy, wasn't it? After the final whistle, wasn't it? Or in the bar?
I think one of their players got sent off for complaining about the goal, didn't they? And then walked past the fans, and there was a bit of an incident then with the fans. Actually, the game was still going on.
I remember now, yeah.
Midi poked him in the eye, didn't he?
But yeah, all sorts of stuff was going on in that run. But when did you? Because you were obviously going really well in the league, weren't you? You were challenging Halifax at the time, although probably the amount of games caught up with you in the end. But when did you start thinking about potentially getting to Wembley and the trophy? Was it always the aim, or did you just start thinking, we could make it here?
I think when you set out in those competitions, there's so many games to play anyway, and you just think, well, you go along with it and think, we're miles away, and then all of a sudden start winning a few games, and then I think then after that game, the Hayes game, all of a sudden we thought that we've got a good opportunity here, boys, but you don't want to lose the focus on the league as well, because that's obviously the prize that we wanted, but we were never going to let that competition go, really. That's what we were driven to get wherever we could in it. And was it Dover after Hayes?
Yeah. So
you see that then, and there's a great opportunity at the end of it to get where we wanted to be.
I think, like you said, John, we flipped it the following season. We probably took the eye off the ball with the trophy to go and crack the league off,
Yeah.
I don't remember Steve saying to us, putting any less emphasis on the trophy either season. He was just of the mind of, I want to win every game, and we'll see where it takes us with the cup. And then once it got to, like you say, the Hayes game, and I can't obviously remember that whole day and the build up to it, but you just know that in that dressing room before that game, particularly a quarter final, he would have had us stoked up, saying, "Look, you've got semi-final in front of you here," and that's where it would have got properly serious then for us, I think.
Yeah, but they were quite a nasty side anyway, weren't they? They were quite.
Yeah, we had some good battles with MJs, didn't we? So we knew it was going to be all on, because it was a quarter.
Sparksy, wasn't it?
Yeah. Chris Sparks. Yeah, I can remember.
What was the score in that game, John? In the
1-0 against Hayes. Yeah, 1-0.
Hayes scored
right at the end.
Right at the end, yeah.
The keeper got done for too many paces in the box, which you don't see obviously anymore because the rules have changed. But
breaks the rules.
Hayes felt differently, but it was scraped through 1-0, and then Jason, semi-final first leg will always be remembered just the last couple of minutes, really.
Yeah, well, he didn't play me from the start, so that's what I remember. I probably wouldn't have scored if I played. So I didn't play at the start.
The master stroke again, wasn't it, from the gaffer?
Just really, just one of those things, isn't it? You just try and get in the right place, don't you? And luckily I got in the right place twice in that game. But we needed it really, with being 1-0 down. That was it. Really, going to Dover, knowing that you'd have to pull a couple of goals back, knowing that they'd probably score. We had to get an advantage, and fortunately we got it.
Yeah, if you were joking earlier about right place, right time, and scoring tap-ins, Jason, and you were known for that sort of instinct in the box. But when you look at your 2 goals in the first leg and then your goal in the second leg, which I think hit you and went in for your 100th goal for the club, it really was right place at the right time for all 3, wasn't it? But obviously, played a huge part in getting the club to Wembley.
Yeah, the second goal I scored at home, they thought that was offside, but I've watched it back quite a few times over the years, and I was only in the 6-yard box, but it definitely went offside. They were bitter about that game, and then the other one, I just sort of closed. I think I closed down the keeper or the defender, and it just bounced in off my knee or shin or something like that. But it was to get an advantage there as well, and to go. It went 2-0 up. Did we go 2-0 up there?
Yeah,
I think so.
2-0 up, and Dale scored a cracker as well on that over his shoulder on that game.
Yeah, it's a good goal, that, wasn't it?
Yeah, which took a bit of the pressure off at the start, and they scored a couple of great goals as well. Budden, wasn't it? He scored from top corner. Bookie was waving it in the corner, wasn't he?
Dodgy hand.
Yeah, in the top bins, and then it was just thought we were going to hold on. It was just what a great atmosphere though as well from the Cheltenham fans behind. I don't know how many we took up there, but wow, what a following for that game. But the pressure was on, wasn't it? Definitely. I think one of the things that I can always remember is the mental pressure as well. Physically, it's draining having 2 games, but mentally as well, knowing that your game's away from Wembley and knowing that everyone's dreams to play at Wembley, it was just so draining. After that game finished, it was like, my God, I've never experienced mental pressure, and from those games, you just felt absolutely exhausted until the way back, and we celebrated like no one's business, and that was all forgotten.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Jace. The physical pressure, you burn up so much energy because of nerves and stuff, and you're that sort of worked up to go and finish the job. But we're all young players at one stage, starting the game at whatever age, dreaming of playing at Wembley, and then you walk out in that second leg thinking, we're a game away here. We're 1 game away from realising all our boyhood dreams. Yeah, it's not an FA Cup final or playing for England, but at our level, it was an opportunity to play at the the mecca of football, of English football, and we like Jay said, once that's you start to get ahead of yourself and think too much, then it becomes a mental battle, and you've got to suppress that. And that's what Jace is saying, to suppress that and keep your mind on the job and focus on, we've got to do it first. It doesn't just happen. It does drain you, and afterwards, like you say, you for all that's happened, you celebrate, but you just completely out of it.
You get publicity that you haven't had for in your career, really. Semi-final games. So you get TV cameras turning up for your training sessions, and people ringing you up and asking you about if you get to Wembley and this, that, and other. And you don't want to let anyone down. You're really focused on making sure that you don't let family, friends, because everyone's sort of gearing up to go to Wembley. Everyone's bought their tickets already before the
Yeah. I remember at the end of the game, I sort of went to try and start off celebrations because I was so, emotional and ready to go. And then next minute, I got a microphone stuck straight in front of me, literally, a minute or 2 after the final whistle. And it was Tim Harris. He was there doing reporting, and because I knew him and he knew me, he grabbed me for a quick word on the radio. Which obviously I was delighted to do, but I was a bit gutted as well afterwards because I'd missed about 5 minutes of celebration with the lads. By the time I got there, they were half of them were already in the crowd.
Bookie, what do you remember about the journey back then? Because I think everyone's heard about John Atkinson having a bit of champagne on the coach. And what was it like? Was it one of the highlights of that season, do you think, the journey back, knowing you were going to be going to Wembley, like Jay said and Bob said, boyhood dreams?
Yeah, it was a manic journey back, to be honest. Someone said there was a naked bus, but I can't remember that. I remember Braggy coming up to me, because we stopped at off licence, didn't we? Yeah. Just outside Dover. And Braggy came up to me and said, look, have a word with Ganners. He said, don't feel part of it. Obviously, he's not playing or anything. So look round. He's walking out the off licence. He's got a crate of beer in one hand, another on his shoulder, and a big cigar hanging out his mouth. I'm like, look, you don't feel part of it. Look at it. So he's just on there cracking beers. Ganners used the bottle opener, beer assistant, we called him.
We had a few players actually going to get Ryan Gannaway. We had players that would just squad players really, that never had the opportunity to play because Steve liked to keep a settled team. You did have players that were chomping at the bit to play, but there was never any animosity between the players. I think if they weren't playing, they understood and appreciated that that the players in front of them were doing enough to keep their places. But great squad of lads as well. Just that's what made it really.
Everyone sort of got on, didn't they, Jakes?
Yeah, there's no airs or graces. Everyone had were good lads really. No big time. And I think I've watched it back before about teams that have played under different managers at Cheltenham, and one thing that the best to get at the lads is that you don't have any big time Charlies in there, and Steve was always one of the ones that said no one's bigger than the club and no one's bigger than him. So if anyone tried to take over
in that order, yeah.
I mean, one of the masterstrokes was bringing in someone like Clive Walker, who played for Chelsea and at the top level, and had played a load of league games. Then he'd had all the success he'd had with Woking. So he'd been such a successful player, both in league football and then winning trophies in non-league football. So he came with one of the highest pedigrees of a player coming to Cheltenham.
Definitely, yeah.
But again, Steve impressed on him that this is what it's about. I know what you can give us, but you need to do this for us to make us successful. And Clive being Clive, he had the ability to do what he did and score goals and win games, create goals, but also fit into what Steve required from him in a team aspect. And for someone who was, approaching 40 at the time is amazing, really. I still can't believe it now.
I think he was 7 years older than Steve, which was amazing. And me and Joyce were chatting earlier about the trophy semi-final second leg, where you secured the place at Wembley was on April the 4th, and the trophy final wasn't until May the 17th. That's a hell of a wait to get to play at Wembley, but you still finished the season really strongly in the league, didn't you? And did Steve keep it quite competitive because everyone wanted to play at Wembley? Because you look at the results, and you certainly didn't seem to take your foot off the gas in those last few league games.
I think because everyone probably wanted to play at Wembley, that was the carrot really that was dangled. So we just, as we said earlier, every time we went out, we thought we could win a game anyway. So I think the momentum was there for us, and we didn't want to give it up. Really, we didn't want to run up. The final was coming, and we could finish the league off strong as well. So, and it was a great opportunity for players to show what they could do. Really, I wasn't giving my place up, and I'm sure some of these boys here weren't going to give their place up either. So, that was the incentive really to get to the final.
I think there was only one game, and you'll probably tell me who it is, John. The game before the final, where Steve did select a team and rested one or two players that could have possibly got suspended, that he considered to be his first team players, or his first 11, if you like, that had played the majority of that season. And that's the only time I've ever known him maybe not go into a game with his strongest side.
Yeah, I think Archie was one booking away from a suspension, and I think that was definitely big on Steve's thoughts. So Archie didn't play much.
It was myself as well. I think myself and Arch, and I think there was someone else as well.
I didn't play either. I don't think
I
played the last game. Yeah,
and I knew there was at least 3, if not 4, that he'd sort of, which for him was unheard of, absolutely unheard of. But you know, he then realised that maybe, you know, the league. I don't know whether the league was done by then or not. I mean, he wouldn't have done it if we were going to win the league, I'm sure. I think he just looked at that, right. We've got to make sure we go into this and win this game, and give ourselves the best opportunity to win it.
Yeah, I think Darren Wright and Michael Jackson played centre mid that day against Southport, which, funnily enough, against Southport in the last league game. And I think looking at the results, the Hereford home game might have been the one that sort of Halifax pulled away a bit, because you'd lost to Woking on the previous week. Kevin Betsy had the storming game, and then do you remember Bruffy scoring at Wadden Road? Jason, you scored in that game, but 2-1 defeat. I think that was the game where probably Halifax pulled away a little bit, and the last few games you weren't going to catch them.
No, I can't remember that, to be honest.
Do you remember Bruffy playing up front for Hereford and scoring it?
Home?
Yeah, scored at Edder, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we signed him in the end. Yeah. But
it was a long build up. So because with playoffs and things like that, when Cheltenham have been to playoff games, you know, you finish the season, you're pretty much straight into the playoffs. But having that almost, I think it was about 6 weeks to get ready for Wembley, all the ticket sales, all the excitement. What was that like? Not only having to finish those conference games, but what do you remember about the build up to that, which is obviously the biggest game Cheltenham had ever had? Anything stand out for you in that period? Before we actually get on to talking about the game.
The song,
the suit.
Getting invited, to large it up for a little bit, wasn't it? Really, it was something that we hadn't experienced, I suppose, for a lot of us. TV cameras coming down to training, getting suits fitted for us, the song. So we felt as though we were, traditionally FA Cup. That's the way that they do things in the FA Cup, and it was no different really. We were the non-league version, and I think the club were trying to do everything possible that they could to make us, feel special and to give us the best opportunity to win. And we stayed as well away in Wickham a couple of nights before the game, so that was good for us that they took us away, and that bonded the lads even more really to make sure we were ready for it. It was it was great team spirit, and us staying away for a couple of days together, because we were mates at the time as well as teammates as well as friends. It was we stuck together and bonded, and we were ready for the fight.
Ball-point drop bloomers.
Ball-point drop bloomers.
Oh yeah,
absolute classic, wasn't it? Absolute classic.
Yeah, that's that famous.
I think you're better known for singing a different song, Bob, weren't you, for Cheltenham? At Cheltenham.
I've got 1 or 2 in my repertoire that I'm renowned for. Let's say.
When you look back on that, the songs and stuff like that, it's the dodgy gear. I thought, surely I didn't dress that badly in those days. I thought I used to be quite smart, but God, we had some dodgy gear, didn't we? Flipping now.
Yeah.
Still got it.
I know, yeah. That's the problem.
Well, like I said, the suit, I have, and I should have worn it. I'm a bit gutted I haven't worn it, but I have still got it. And that thing about the professionalism of a non-league club, Steve always tried to do that, make sure that we behaved and we prepared as professionally as we possibly could, and that was certainly that week, and the build up to it was done really, really well, and that impressed on me, and I was determined to soak it all up, because I thought to myself, this is going to flash by. This week is going to go by in a flash. Certainly the game will go by in a flash. And I just tried to sort of take everything in as much as I possibly could. And I wish I'd have done that a bit more in my career. I'd probably remembered a bit more about it, because I've got pretty good memories of Wembley, the game itself, and things. And I know it's there to look at again, and you've got the footage of it, but it's one of the games, and I suppose it's going to be because of the size of it. It's your biggest game of your career, playing at Wembley. But I was determined to sort of soak it up and remember as much as I could about it.
He took us a day before to the ground, so we had the opportunity to walk around the ground, didn't we? And see what it was all about. And that was, to go onto the pitch and look around. It was like, my God, tomorrow we're going to be playing here, and however many thousand people were going to be turning up. But that was good to get us there, just to experience it. And that was another thing, Bob, you said, it's the professionalism and knowing, probably from him doing it himself. I think, would he have been to Wembley, or whether he went with Wimbledon or whatever, he knew what would make a difference on the day. It was those small margins, wasn't it, that were going to try and work for us.
Did we do a training session and Sanch turned up with a bag of balls that we're using on the day or something?
Yeah, Laurie Sanchez. Yeah,
because we used a different ball, didn't we, all season? Then we used them miters in the final.
Yeah.
So,
where did you train?
I can't remember.
Yeah, he took us out for a training session, and he said, "Oh, is my mate turning up?" And Laurie Sanchez turned up.
Sanch, wasn't it?
Sanch, yeah, it's Sanch. Yeah, give us a team talk, and set us off.
Post flick on.
Yeah.
10
just
years
another
after.
little touch, wasn't it? Another little touch of him just, it is me mate, but also the significance of this guy played at Wembley in a team that weren't fancied to win, and scored the winner in an FA Cup final.
Yeah. So you three, obviously, sorry, Jace, you go.
Yeah, sorry, it was just, I think, memories as well. Bob's saying it's hard to remember a lot of this stuff, but, I can remember the coach journey to the final as well. And, you're turning up and you've got a police escort into the ground, and, then you see all the Cheltenham fans in the bars and, outside on the streets, and that memory will stay forever. You turn up at the ground, there's 1,000 people waiting for your autograph, and small Cheltenham come into Wembley, and all these people have come out to cheer you on. People that never probably been to a football match. It was unbelievable. What a great experience just going to the ground, and that was the start of it.
There's probably everyone would probably say it wasn't an absolute cracker of a game, was it? The 90 minutes, but there were probably 3 standout moments in the game. I would say, from a Cheltenham fan's point of view, there was, and you 3 happened to be involved in one each of them. So I think it was the first half, Bob. We'll start off with your tackle. I know that wasn't all you did in the game, but there was one particular tackle on the edge of the box that definitely probably stopped one of their best chances. So what do you remember about that one? I think man of the match Butler, wasn't it? You made it on. Yeah.
I mean, I realised, having played against him before, that he was a similar type player to me, Brian Butler, and so I think during that game we'd sort of pretty much come in contact with each other quite a bit, and was sort of trying to get the better of each other. And that particular incident, the ball had sort of gone in towards the edge of the box, and then as I was coming towards it, it broke away from me. It was near me, and then it was away from me. And I thought, I've just got to go for this and just hopefully get something on it. Otherwise, it's a goal. I could see it was rolling right into his path. So I just did everything I could to get across and managed to get there. I've just been looking back on some stuff after you got in contact with me. I was just looking back on some of my bits I've got, and I'd forgot about the picture. It was one that was in the paper, and somebody's captured it perfectly as he strikes it, and I just get there to get the block to force it away.
Yeah, we'll come on to what happens at the other end of the pitch in a minute. But Bookie, what do you remember about that tackle? Because you probably were expecting to have to make a save, and the cracking tackle, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, exactly that last ditch. I thought if he's through there, he's having a touch and he's slotting it probably across me somewhere. But he done it all season, to be fair to Bob. You know, covering Bocker and that. Bocker's just gone out for a corner, I bet.
Bookie, I don't remember you being massively busy on the day, but there was one particular save
That's
one-on-one.
putting it lightly, John. That's putting it lightly. He didn't have anything to do at all. All I can remember that day of him was doing one of his daft throws where he looks one way and throws it the other, and doing a few dodgy kicks out of play. That's it. That's all he did.
Standard, John. Bob.
I've got to give Bookie a little bit of credit for the one-on-one because they had a player through on goal. I can't remember his name now. Experienced striker.
Brian Ross, wasn't it? Was it Brian Ross?
Ross, that's it. Yeah, well, that's it, Jace. Yeah, Brian Ross, and you just didn't give him anywhere to go. So you perhaps made yourself. Well, the positioning was so good, you didn't really have to make a save in the end. I think you just picked it off his foot.
Yeah, I knew like he's through one-on-one. I'm looking at the pitch for a bit of cover. Couldn't see any. Thought I'd hold him up a bit. I think Jace was the first one back.
Sorry, Bucky. I don't know where I'd gone there. I'd gone AWOL on that one.
Bob just got off a cramp, I think. Doing all that running. Held him up a bit and he took an extra touch and I thought, all right, I've got that. So just jumped on it in a nutshell, John. Easy.
There's another great kick of that as well.
But in all seriousness, John, he did that. Bucky was, he was our club clown and joker in the team, but he was the keeper. He was the main keeper in that league, and we knew, he gave us confidence as a team. You can ask any of that defence that they felt so confident in him. His shot stopping was second to none, and when players were through, Ross got through. You'd back Bucky to save it, and if I hadn't been there to block that one of Brian Butler, you'd have backed him to save that anyway.
Yeah, nice touch, Bob. And
starts with the front then, to be honest.
Hey. Starts with the front, yeah. Defend from the front. You're right.
Yeah, come on then. Let's get on with it.
So Jimmy Smith comes on. Jimmy Smith comes on. Russell Milton comes on. I think for 92 and Clive Walker, who'd probably run themselves into the ground, maybe in the heat. But they were both involved. It's quite nice that they both came on and played a big part in it because they've obviously been good players throughout the season. But Jimmy got fouled, didn't he? And
he says he got fouled. So you watch that back. That is a dubious decision. But he always had that in the locker, Jimmy. We used to take the mick out of him. He had his banana skin, so he's had this slip that he always used to do. That was typical Jim. So yeah, it was a foul. We're happy with the foul. Yeah.
I'll leave it over to you. I'll hand over to you, Jace. Talk me through it because Russ steps up. No better set piece taker in that level of football at the time, I'm sure. So talk me through it from your point of view.
Well, Russ got hold of it, clipped it across. Jamie, wasn't it? Jamie hit his shoulder, didn't it?
Yeah.
Came off his shoulder. All I'd been thinking all game was, I haven't had a chance today. It was really tough on chances the whole game. We didn't really have a sniff. Well, Dale had probably one opportunity, but nothing came along. And I suppose I just drifted back as instinct takes you. Got a couple of yards and just landed on my head. So, just did what I used to do and just try and keep it on target, really. Kept it on target and, the rest is history. But, it's just one of those things. I was the fortunate one that, it landed to on the day. But, I was always pretty sharp in and around the 6-yard box. So I wasn't going to miss. And, and it just, it was lucky that it came to me.
And exactly that, what he says about being sharp in and around the box. You can say what you like about some players score goals, and all the goals they score are spectacular. Jason was the first to say that, he only got a handful of spectacular ones. All his were instinct goals, were typical strikers' goals. And, if he'd only scored 3 or 4 that season, you'd have said, "Oh yeah, he's lucky. Look, he just bobble off him and this and that and the other."
Jason Bobble.
but to bobble 20 plus goals, there's something there, isn't there? Let's be fair.
Yeah, I think people ask you, and you want to dress it up a little bit more, and make it sound more exciting. But it's just one of those opportunities. I got an opportunity in a game. It came to me, and did what I'd been doing. All
Did your
season.
job, didn't you? Did your job?
Did my job, and I said the rest. We had to hold on.
You earned your role, though, didn't you, Jace?
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, no, it was holding on then. Really, it was so warm on the day. It was absolutely, as we all know, it was absolutely roasting, really draining as well. And all I wanted to do, probably selfishly, was for us to hold on. So we would win 1-0, and we did.
Southport were obviously a league rival, but you guys have finished right near the top of the table. Going into it, was there any sort of idea of perhaps Cheltenham being a favourite, given what the league position had been, or was it completely seen as being a 50-50 FA Trophy final tie?
I ain't got a clue, mate. I thought we must have been favourites from where we finished in the league.
Yeah, I think we were favourites, weren't we? We were favourites, going into it, and we. Yeah, I suppose we were always confident because of the way we finished the season. But as we said, the last probably couple of games, because we had a couple of knocks and injuries, we weren't probably going in as fresh as we could. And as you said, John, we had a break as well going into the game. So it was, were we going to, everyone going to end the game? Because in those days you can't have many subs either, can you? It was 2 subs, so you've just got to see it through.
Well, John, what was the score? Did you say we played them last game of the season? In the league?
Beat them 2-0. Beat them 2-0. Yeah.
At home.
Yeah, 2-0 at home. Yeah.
That would have bumped us up a bit. Well, with the favourites, wouldn't it?
Jimmy got one, and Grayson. We haven't mentioned Grace yet, but he came in the March, didn't he? And again, I think he was probably the same age as Steve, or if not a little bit older. And he couldn't play in the trophy, could he? Because he played for Hereford. But he did start banging them in the league, didn't he? So we'll come back to the celebration in a minute, but did you sort of see him as he's going to be one of the ones for next year to make us that little bit stronger? Jason, you would have been playing up front with him a lot the following year.
Yeah, I think, we mentioned it earlier that we'd up to level really with players. And Grace was one of those players that had a massive pedigree of experience coming into the club, and it's the players that we needed. You could see Steve was earmarking people for the next season, and Grace obviously knew when he came that he couldn't play in the trophy games, which obviously helped the run in the other games. But you hear about Grace and what he did, the great things he did before he came to the club, and obviously the stuff that he did when he was at the club as well. And what an amazing centre forward he was. So when I left the club, obviously one of the reasons because the calibre of striker that we had probably at the club anyway, and making sure that I suppose that I'd run my term, whether I could have gone on a little bit further or not, maybe a year or two, who knows? But I think the club was building to be professional, even at that stage. So Steve had his plans, and it just built through the following season as well with the quality of players that he had.
Yeah, so you had to see out 11 minutes after the goal, and I'm sure it seemed like a long time to you in that heat. But do you, because you probably all watched it back a bit, on telly and that sort of thing. It was one of the first games Cheltenham ever had on telly. But do you still remember it from being on the pitch, the moment the whistle blew and you'd won the trophy, or not?
Yeah, just amazing relief. Like you said, I mean, to score that goal, you had a tight game. It's to-ing and fro-ing, and then a chance falls to Jace. He buries it. We go off and celebrate as you would, and then you come back to the halfway line, and you're immediately thinking, right, how long have we got? How long is there to see out? And anybody who's been in that situation will know that when you say it seems to just stick by in 20-minute blocks rather than minute blocks. It does feel like that. It feels like a lifetime. It goes on, and then it gets to the actual last couple of minutes, and again, I don't know how many minutes were added on after the 90, but it just seemed to go on, and you're just digging in, aren't you? You're just digging in because you're not going to try and score another goal. It's just purely let's protect and win the game 1-0. And when the final whistle goes, that's it. Culmination of what you play the game for. You've played at Wembley, but you've not just played at Wembley. You've won at Wembley, and that was impressed on us by Steve. He said, "You don't want to be losing here, lads. You do not want to be losing here." And he must have said that God knows how many times. And thankfully we didn't.
But I think because we went 1-up and we knew we could keep a clean sheet when we're on it. Do you know what I mean? It was no sort of fear of getting caved in. Do you know what I mean? Of caving in and getting done over. To be honest, that back four were solid all season, weren't they?
Yeah. I mean, in front of you, Bucky, I mentioned about you, but you must have had so much confidence. You've got a young kid at right back who is going to go on and play at a high level. You've got Jamie at left back who's just, every single game, reliable. Banksy, one of the best centre halves to play at that level and should have been playing higher. And Bocker, who's just the lion heart of the team, just not the most gifted of footballers, but probably the best at leading by example and dragging other people performances out of other people. I put myself in a similar vein. Me and Bocker weren't the talented players of the team by any stretch, but we made up for that, or he made up for that, let's say, by just pure heart and wanting to be a winner.
They worked so well together, didn't they, Bocker and Banks?
Oh, it's dream partnership, wasn't it?
Bocker would just head anything out of the way. Just whatever was thrown at him, he was just there, wasn't he?
But it was no free headers, Jace, was it? So if Bocker's up for it, then Banksy's mopping up all his.
He didn't have any pace, Bocker, but he was a fit guy. He carried, he's
carried it well.
Heavy guy, but in the running and training and stuff like that, he was always up with the front boys, definitely, which was probably a bit of a surprise to some people, but really probably underrated, underestimated, really, Bocker, for the job that he did for us.
No, he done great in front of me, to be fair.
Yeah,
but we knew of his value, Jace, didn't we? We knew of how valuable he was to the team.
Yeah. Especially for conference football as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we probably haven't mentioned Arch as much as we should do. What contribution he did for the team, and throughout the season and the time that we were all there, gifted and unbelievable player at our level.
I mean, you say about partnerships, Jace. You had partnerships that at that time with Jimmy Smith, you complemented each other. Bocker and Banksy complemented each other. And I think me and Arch did when we played. I was the combative player who run all day and put the tackles in, but Arch was the footballer. Let's make no bones about it. He was a talent, and he was certainly one. If he'd had a little bit more in a drive, would have played at not just league level, but a higher league level. He was that talented. He was two-footed. He was quick. He was fit. He could score goals with either foot. You couldn't really tell whether he was left-footed or right-footed. He could head it. He could tackle. He could mix it up. He got temper. But he had it under control most of the time. It came out when he needed it.
He was happy to stay around, wasn't he? He wanted.
He went on again though, James. Yeah. He went on again when we went full time. He went on again. He was that season he broke his leg. He was on fire.
Yeah, and that bit there you say, Bucky. He was one and we had a few like that who you know, when they were asked to play at the next level, they did it. When they were asked to play at the next level, they did it. And that's what Steve had to look closely at. He knew the ones like Duffo and Jamie and Arch, to name three, that, yeah, we go up, they'll be in my team. Yeah. To the conference. We go up to League 2, they'll be in my team. We can go up to League 1, they'll be in my team.
Yeah. Do you remember going up to get the trophy? Obviously, Banksy probably led you up, didn't he? Lifted the trophy, and do you remember that, Bookie? Does that stick in the memory, or can you not remember that either?
Vaguely going at it. Like Bob said, I tried to enjoy it and take everything in. I can't remember anything.
Yeah, I think it was Banksy and Clive at the front, wasn't it? They rushed up there, and we were just milking it on the stairs, I think.
Yeah, at the back, clapping to your fans, and all the pictures are getting taken.
Yeah, I know. I don't think we exist in those pictures. Yeah. No.
Do you remember 18,000? Or there was 18,000 Cheltenham fans there in the 26,000 crowd. What me and Joyce were chatting about this earlier. What was it like playing in Wembley, historic old stadium? Wasn't long before they're going to knock it down, but to have 26,000 in there, half of it obviously was empty. What was that like, sort of atmosphere-wise, to play in front of? Still great crowd, but slightly strange.
It made you think what it would be like with like 90,000 there, because like 26,000, and it was a hell of a noise, wasn't it? A hell of an atmosphere. And walking out onto that pitch from that tunnel, got your hairs on the back of your neck going up. So you're thinking, I'll tell you what, there was 100,000, 90,000 here.
Yeah.
It did.
I just think you keep the photos. You just keep the photos on
with all the fans.
With all the fans in. Yeah, you don't worry about the ones on the other side.
Yeah, that was the only downside, really, wasn't it? Because it just looked a bit odd. You know, one half of the ground completely packed out, and then as it wore around to the other side, it was completely empty. That was just a little bit odd. But yeah, like Bookie said, I mean, you're thinking an FA Cup final with 90,000 there, flipping heck, because it was a great atmosphere. And,
I think the proud thing was, from a player's point of view, the amount of Cheltenham supporters were there. You know, 18 to 19,000, and you think, wow,
where they come from?
Southport have got 8,000, so they've got two bits of the ground or whatever, and that was a proud moment, really, to see so many people come into the games. You know, how many thousand did we have? You know, for a home game, maybe 4,000. Obviously, the Rushden, the Oval game was slightly different, but you know, on average, and then you get all these other people turning up, you know, that want to be a part of the success of the football club. I think that was the biggest thing. Yeah,
it did underline the potential, didn't it? Really, that turnout for that and the next day's bus tour.
Yeah,
well, that was unbelievable, wasn't it? That was mad.
I think the just going back to the game and the game finishing. You know, I had a couple of coaches go up that followed me up there, you know, to watch me play, and the one thing that we couldn't do was celebrate with the people that came. Yes, at the end, you know, you go, you want to have a beer and you want to celebrate. All your family have gone because they can't go in the bar because they're with other people. So I think when I look back on it and you say things pass you by, that's one of probably the things that you wanted to celebrate a little bit more, because we then got back on the coach, didn't we? Yeah, we went in the bar, got on the coach with the lads, which was great, but you wanted to be with everyone else, you know, but you didn't have the opportunity to celebrate as much as you wanted to do at the time.
Jace, was it right you had to cancel your stag do at the time? Was that, I remember a few stories about that?
Yeah. That was minor detail, that was, compared to everything.
Yeah. So what happened that night?
We still went.
Yeah, no, still got one in the end, yeah. Yeah, more celebrations, yeah.
What happened that night, and what was the plan that night? Did you come straight back and celebrate in Cheltenham, or did you stay at Wembley for a bit, or what happened after the game?
Yeah, we sort of more or less came straight back, and then went to we were in a hotel overnight, and then we just had a celebration back at the hotel. but it was a good night. It was quite an anticlimax because don't you feel like we were absolutely drained? You know, I was, but I'm sure all the boys were as well. So you know, we got back and it was like as though you came down off a massive high. Whereas it was, you know, it was great for some of them to put a bit of a do on, but you know, I would say probably the next day was a better day than the night of the game. I don't know what you boys think, but
yeah, I think so, James. I think we just went back to the hotel and I can just remember us all being a bit sort of drained and
it was just nighty, wasn't it? He was off his head. He's like, wind him up.
Yeah, local boy, he just wanted to go round and you know, see all his mates, didn't he?
What a turnout the next day, though, wasn't it? It was just another warm day, and I think, you know, I don't know how many thousand people came out, but it was. And when we spoke to Nighty and Michael and Dave Norton about the following season, they were talking about the surprise element of the turnout. What did you think when you first saw the crowds that had come out to salute what you'd done?
I didn't think there was that many people in Cheltenham.
It's like, where did they come from?
Well, we didn't think so at first. We set off and we were all looking at each other going, this could be a bit embarrassing, man. And there was like just a few little sprinklings of people. And then we turned the corner into the town centre and we all looked at each other and went, where have all these come from? It was unbelievable because we obviously knew we've got a nucleus of a couple of 3,000 fans, and there was more than that just on one little stretch. And then we went round another corner, and it got even more people, and it was like, this is unbelievable. They just, you know, the amount of the thousands and thousands of people who just wanted to celebrate in the town's success. We were knocked out by it. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Town Hall balcony was good as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, just crazy. And you got off the bus as though you were some sort of film star. You know, you were just swamped by hundreds of people, like wanting to touch you and, you know, want autographs. And it was just like, God, this is what it means to the town of Cheltenham. That was what it felt like. And as Bob said, it was, you know, bringing something to Cheltenham that, you know, whatever it was, everyone in Cheltenham could be proud of the success that we had, which, you know, made it even more special.
Bob, do you think that was your best season for Cheltenham, that one? Because you didn't play quite as much the following season, although you're still an important player. I think you and Archie that season were pretty much there every week in, week out, weren't you? Do you think that was from a personal form point of view, your best season for the club?
Yeah, that and the promotion season. Yeah, those two really, obviously, you know, they stick in your mind for obvious reasons, you know, because it's success. That's what you hope for and what you play the game for. And when you're able to do it, winning a cup final, you know, the highest level we could manage was the trophy win, and we did it. But then after that, the following season, Steve's eye was on ensuring that we weren't the bridesmaid, that we were going to be, you know, the main team and win that league and get up into and achieve success in a league campaign.
Jason, what do you reckon in terms of your where would that rank in your season? Because you had a bit of an injury problem the following year, didn't you?
Yeah, I think that obviously personally for me it was, you know, that season with the, you know, the hat trick against Halifax, you know, the goals that I scored, you know, Wembley. You know, you've got to say.
It's going to get better than that, is it?
No, it's not going to get better than that. So the next year, I think, you know, for me, I knew that I wasn't going to go full time. The more realistic it got that we were going to get promoted, the more that you knew. It was a shame, really, because in one way you thought, selfishly, you didn't want the club to get promoted because it'd mean I wouldn't be playing with these lads and your friends, and, you know, the great times that we had would have to end. But then you knew, you know, you wanted Cheltenham to be successful, and go to a level that they'd never played at before. So for me, it was bittersweet, really, the second season. Yes, I didn't play as many games. The club got more professional. Competition was higher for places. I appreciated that other people needed to come in. But, to look back on things now and where the club got to, and fortunately where it is now, is part of our legacy, I think. And, I think, Bob Bookie's still involved with it. But for me to look back on, the people that are still involved with the club, I always obviously look out for their results. I get back to Cheltenham when I can, and, Russ, obviously Duffo, it's what a fantastic group of lads that they've got that have experienced the great times, the team spirit that we had, that they'll all try and bring back. And I'm sure they've got that there now by listening to, the interviews of Duffo. I always sort of tune in and make sure he, what he does. And, what a great lad. He hasn't changed one little bit. He's got time for everyone. He talks so well about the game, and he's so passionate about Cheltenham. And, to be in that changing room, these boys are lucky because they've got the opportunity, and that's the career path that they've chosen. But, what a great time that they've got at the moment, and whatever happens to the club when the season goes back, I wish them all the best, because, they haven't changed one little bit. And, we still feel a part of the club because we get invited to do things like this and get back to games whenever we can. So, full credit to the whole setup, really.
Yeah, Jace, you say you were never going to go full time, and you had a decent job at Redwood Lodge, I think, didn't you, at that time? But Steve did try, didn't he? Because I remember him inviting you back for some reserve games the following year, and I think you played in Banks's benefit game against Villa, didn't you? So he didn't want to let you go, did he?
Yeah, no. Even when I went back in the reserves, I scored a couple of goals. I think it was away at Kidderminster or something like that. And we had a good relationship with Steve. And I think when you look back on it, you get a bit older and you think, perhaps if I give it a year in professional football again, with Cheltenham, how would it have ended? But I had to make a decision at the time, and I think as a striker, he was always going to sign other strikers, and you think, well, if you're not scoring, then what are you going to do? You've just given up your career to be a professional footballer, and I didn't want to take that gamble that I was going to lose a career rather than maybe a bit of a glory for a year of a professional with Cheltenham. But it is one of those things that you always look back on and think it would have been nice, but I didn't take that opportunity. So, yeah.
Bookie, you obviously went on to, well, you all went on to win the conference, but Bookie, you went on to play in the 01-02 season to get into League One, and Bob, you would have been moved over to the coaching side by then, wouldn't you? And then obviously you played a part again in the 05-06. But Bookie, when you found yourself playing in League One for Cheltenham, do you think that 97-98 season, although you didn't get a promotion, do you think that was the catalyst for what happened after that, because of the increase in fans and the town getting behind the club?
Definitely, because obviously as well, it could be done. So everyone jumped on the sort of bandwagon, as to say. Cox was leading it, of course, and again, he was feeding himself the drug of success sort of thing. It was just a good time, wasn't it? I mean, the timing for me was great, because I've come from not a lower league, jumped on it, got into it. It was just a good time to be involved with Cheltenham.
Yeah, and Bob, you would have been, still is. And Bob, you would have been a bit older than Jason, but you were always going to go pro, were you? When that opportunity came up, you wanted to give it another go in the league, maybe just crossed into your 30s then, hadn't you?
Yeah. I'd got a job that I'd been doing for a year or so. I'd got myself qualified as a fitness instructor, so it was with Jason it was a little bit different. He sort of moving towards the management side, whereas for me, my thoughts were, well, if it doesn't work out, I can go back to what the level I'm doing. So that it was quite an easy decision for me, even though I knew that I was right on the limit of my ability going and playing at League Two level, and being able to play regularly. I knew that I was coming towards the end of my career, and my role was changing. It was changing from being a week in, week out, one of the main ones on the team sheet, which had been in the previous couple of seasons, to being a squad player. Towards the end of that promotion season, Yatesy had come in and featured in the latter part of that season. And even though you don't like to admit it, you know that's the next progression of the team. Steve was always looking ahead and always looking to try and build replacements wherever he could within his squad, and that was the next one that I knew was coming. And yeah, for that sort of first season and second season Cheltenham's first and second season as professional club were my last 2 seasons obviously playing. That second season was my last as a player, and I'd already started to move towards the coaching, and as it come towards the end of that second season, Steve was straight down the line with me, called me in, said, look, I'm not going to be able to offer you another pro contract, but I value you around the club. What do you want to do? He knew that I was only mid-30s and could potentially go and play elsewhere. And he put the ball in my court and left me to consider it. And I did do. And I could have gone on and played 1 or 2 seasons or maybe more elsewhere, lower down the scale. But I just thought, I've had 1 or 2 bad injuries. I've been out for periods of time, both at Rovers and then when I came to Cheltenham. So it was again another easy decision really to hang the boots up and go into the coaching side.
Have you all still got your medals from Wembley? Your trophy winning medals?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's up in the loft. Yeah.
Yeah, Jace, you went to Yeovil briefly, didn't you? And then played for Forest Green, but you come to Cheltenham. I've got to mention this, Jace, because Bookie, you briefly played for Gloucester City earlier in your career, but Jace, you were one of the ones to make the move from Gloucester to Cheltenham.
Jace was there when I went there for pre-season once.
But you got plenty of stick, Jace, didn't you? You got plenty of stick. Bookie, I think Cheltenham fans didn't quite realise that you got plenty of stick by the Gloucester City fans, didn't you? Whenever you played against them. But you always seem to score against them.
Yeah, I know, which they hated. Yeah, the rivalry, I didn't realise how much the rivalry was at the time until I went back. And yeah, they were pretty vile, the supporters. We had some big games against them as well. I remember the Boxing Day games that, always spring to mind. And you get a few thousand people, especially at Gloucester, watching the games, and quite volatile as well. We had to, remember one game, we went to the bar after the game and we got spat on going through the bar. We had to get security across because, I think that was probably just because of me, and I'd scored a couple of goals on the day. But I think I always did well against Gloucester, and it was a good club. I did enjoy Gloucester at the time, and when I went there, they were spending quite a bit of money on trying to get promotion into the league. They were desperate to go for it. They had quite a rich chairman at the time, and but as soon as I got the call from Lindsay, I always said that I would, if wherever Lindsay went, I would go. So I was never not going to follow Lindsay, and great opportunity to get a club like Cheltenham that had big ambitions as well.
Yeah, when you went back to Gloucester, late in your career, do you feel like they accepted you then, or did you still get a little bit of stick?
Yeah, they didn't accept me. No, it probably wasn't the wisest move that I made going back there, but it was Burnsy. Chris Burns was manager, and Knighty was there, so they asked me to go across and play a few games, and which I did. But yeah, no, I probably shouldn't have done that really in my career. But then, you know, I think when you look back on it, where Cheltenham were and where Gloucester were, it was never, you know, it was no odds, was it? Because, you know, two totally different spectrums of, you know, in the football pyramid at that time.
Yeah. And Bookie, obviously, you're still coaching the keepers now at Cheltenham, which everyone will know. But Bob, you stayed in the academy for a while, and then we're obviously first team as well. But you're now working for the EFL, aren't you? Can you just tell us what your current role is?
Yeah, I still go into Cheltenham. Cheltenham are one of my clubs that I look after. So I've got 9 clubs up predominantly in the southwest, and I do the same role within each club. So it's a governance and monitoring role of academy football on behalf of the EFL. Each club gets funding to run their academy, and they pitch themselves at the level that they can accommodate and afford. And we go in and ensure that the standards that they're expected to achieve and the rules that they should abide by are being done, so that they spend the money accordingly and hopefully bring as many local players through as they possibly can.
Bob, you won't have anything to do with like the COVID or anything like that, the standards that got set now?
No. I mean, I'm currently furloughed at the moment because of the academy's football ceasing. I'm one of the ones that, within the EFL that's on furlough. So it's a bit of a strange situation that we're all coping with at the moment within football, and we're just waiting to see what will happen as far as it starting back up again. I mean, as far as academies are concerned, they'll be the last to start back up. I mean, it'll obviously kick in soon once they make the decisions what's going to happen at pro level, and then the scholars will come back in and supplement the squads of the pro teams. But the younger academy players, the 9s to 16s, won't be back involved for a while yet, I don't think.
No live football, but at least we can chat about good things that happened 22 years ago.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The good old days.
No, I think it's I think even though Cheltenham went on to win another couple of promotions, I think after that season, I think it was the start, wasn't it? It was, although you did well under Lindsay and it was a really good team, just getting over the line, and then incredible what happened that year, wasn't it? I think, Bookie, you played 60 out of 61 games that year.
Did I miss one?
You missed one. Yeah, Ganaway didn't play in that one either. Chris Taylor played in one.
Joyce's mate.
So yeah,
I
thought that might bring back a few memories.
As a quiz question, you should have done us on that one. No, none of us would have got that. Not even Booker.
Chris Taylor. God.
Yeah, it was in the Gloucestershire Senior Cup, that was. But there was an FA Trophy game, wasn't there? I think. Oh no, it was the league game the following year, wasn't it, Jason? Where you didn't seem to get on very well with him then.
No. Yeah, that was the Stevenage, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Stevenage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it about
never been set off ever, and went up for a challenge with him, didn't I? And just terrible decision, and and did he sign for us before or after?
Just before that was he? Yeah.
Just after Hereford.
Yeah. No. Yeah, Chris Taylor. Yeah.
But didn't he play cards and won a load of money and didn't play again?
Yeah.
Did he take the pot?
Yeah. Took the pot early in the journey, and then said, "Thanks, lads. That's enough for me." So, talking about bad eggs in football teams. He didn't last long.
I got one more question, guys, before we wrap it up. And Bob, it's singing in the rain related. This
Okay.
has come up. This has come up a couple of times from people over the years. I mean, can you give us any insight into what went on when you're having a team night out or a celebration? You seem to be one of the ringleaders.
No.
Say no more, then, yeah.
I've got a very, very good memory about football, but anything away from football, very, very poor memory about things like that. I mean, I can barely remember the song you're talking about.
There's certain rules, Bob.
Yeah. What goes on tour stays on tour, Bob.
Yeah, and it was mainly on tour that it came out. I don't remember it ever appearing anywhere else, but yeah.
You can't blame me for trying, Bob. Yeah. Right. Well, that's brilliant, guys. Thanks very much for having a look back at that season, which, you know, every Cheltenham fan who was around old enough to remember it will certainly have special memories. So thanks very much for your sharing some of them with us tonight.
No problem, John.
Brilliant.
No problem. Thanks, John.
John.
Thanks very much. Thanks
Cheers,
for your time,
Bookie.
guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much.